I'm live. I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm so alive. Bonus points to anybody who knows what that's from. Hello. Happy Tuesday. It's been a pretty good day, pretty good week. I've had so many really good lessons already today. Tuesday's my busiest lesson day. So I wanted to talk about becoming your own teacher. Having a vocal coach is great, and it can be super helpful for anybody at any level. But I think there comes a point for everybody where they maybe realize they've been putting too much weight on what their vocal coach says, right? So like a lot of my students are perfectionists, overthinkers. We're already in that place of wondering whether we're good enough all the time. And it can be really hard to put that onto a vocal coach, because it's really important to start knowing yourself and knowing what's good and what's bad and what uh, objective good singing is versus preference, which is most of it, honestly. Most of it is just preference. Like there's not a whole lot of good or bad necessarily. I always tell my students, like, the only thing I'm ever going to tell you is wrong is if you it sounds like you're going to hurt yourself, like if you're just pushing too hard and it's not a healthy or sustainable way to sing. And so once you start learning how to recognize those moments of like, okay, I know that it doesn't feel good, I'm going to start again and come at it from a different perspective and see if I can have it feel better when I sing. That's starting to learn how to be your own vocal coach, which is so helpful. I think it's hard for a lot of perfectionists to let go of what their vocal coach thinks or what other people think in general, just as a person, much less a creative or a singer, because that's how we've been taught to work with the world. It's to always ask, am I doing this right? Is this good enough? Is this going to get me the raise I want? Or is it going to get me conflict, that I'm so averse to? So I like to, help coach people as they go through their vocal coaching program, whether it's by themselves or in a group, to start asking them more questions about like, how did it feel for you? Did it reach the intention that you wanted to? Like, so that they can start getting used to the fact that I'm not just going to tell them whether it was good or bad. I do use those words a lot just because I'm a human and, I say that to give approval. But I'm trying to use it less because humans, and especially perfectionists, we live for that approval from our coach, from our teacher, from outside people. So if we sing a song and then we look to the vocal coach and say, was that good enough? Like you're just waiting there, like, for that approval. Is that good enough? Am I good enough? Am I a good enough singer? It's really easy to just get addicted to that, so you just keep waiting for the good from your teacher, waiting for the yes, that was correct from your teacher. The hard part is like that works in science or math, but in art, who am I to say whether it was good or bad? Somebody else who listens to your art might really like it, because there's so much subjectivity in art, especially music. So like, that's why I say the only time I'm going to use good or bad is if you are about to strain yourself or about to hurt yourself. Like that's the only time I'm going to tell you like that's bad or wrong. Because otherwise I don't like to use the words right or wrong because music is so subjective. So in order to help get you started on the path to becoming your own vocal coach, because nobody wants to be taking voice lessons for 10 years. That's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. So my goal is within a couple years, ideally months, is to get you to start thinking about your voice in a different way, just to help you learn your own voice and to help you get to a place where instead of questioning me instead of just asking for my opinion whether it was good enough what you sang, then you start asking yourself questions like, okay, I'm not gonna think about what my coach is thinking. I'm gonna think about, did I reach my objective? My intention going through the song that time was to breathe in a more low way and to get that belly breath going. Did I reach that objective or not? And then if the answer is closer to not just giving up and saying, well, I suck, like that's not a helpful thing to do as your own vocal coach. We need to look at it like we're scientists, right? We're becoming scientists in our own vocal method. So after a certain amount of time taking sessions from me, you might start to hear me in your head. Like, okay, how did that feel physically? How did that feel mentally? Was your gremlin involved in that? Like, did you feel any tension? Was there tightness in your tongue, in your jaw? Like, walk me through how it was so we can get the empirical evidence. And then we walk through the evidence and say, okay, so I had some tongue tightness. Good to know. It's not a reflection on me as a person. I am not a terrible singer. I just have tongue tightness, and that's why this note sounded like that. So then we go back and as scientists, we look at how can I work on loosening my tongue tightness? Okay, well, there's a couple things we can do. We can stretch out our tongue. Uh-huh, uh-huh, do that a little bit every day, and we start to loosen these muscles that are all connected into our tongue. If you have jaw tension, same thing. Give yourself a little jaw massage. Work on singing with a relaxed jaw and give yourself some body cues to get your body and your mind into a place where it's easier to feel that tension when it comes in and to choose a different path. So as a scientist, we're now in the experimentation phase, right? So the first time I sang it, I had some tongue tightness. Second time I sang it, after I stretched my tongue, felt a little easier, reached that high note a little better. And so after all of these processes, we can start to really look at how we approach our singing and start to become our own vocal coach. Because that's what I'm doing as your vocal coach anyway. Like, I'm not inside your head, I'm not inside your body, I'm not in contact with your vocal mechanism. Only you are. And so I'm just asking you questions like, tell me about your tongue tension. How did that feel? How did that high note feel? Was your intention achieved? And so together we start to learn how your voice works, learn how your mind connects to your voice, learn how your nervous system affects your voice, learn what your default patterns are, learn what your triggers are. And then we start to work together in this safer space for you to train you how to be your own vocal coach, right? Because like I said, I don't want to be your vocal coach for 10 years. I love you, but you don't need me for that long. You can start to train your own voice in all these in-between places, right? So you don't have to rely on a vocal coach for every single song you work on anymore because you have all the tools, right? You can start to troubleshoot yourself. You can start to notice, okay, this is specifically what's not working. And then we can start to pinpoint, is it your tongue tension? Is it your body's just tense? Do you need a massage? Like, is your gremlin really strong today because you're having a high anxiety day? Like, all of these things come into play. And I can't possibly know all these things about you, which is why it's more important for you to be your own vocal coach than for me to be your vocal coach forever. Because once you start to learn how to ask the right questions, then you can dig deeper and go underneath all the layers and start to find out what's actually going on. Make your experiments, come at it from different angles, see if you can focus on the ease and the trusting of your voice. See if you can find different ways to visualize these skills that we're working on. So I have all these visuals. If you've ever taken a lesson with me, you have all these ideas about, like, you know, how high notes need to be hard. But my favorite visualization for that is like either like a shelf that's the exact right height for you, or like a basketball hoop. You got to get it above the hoop to get it in the hoop. You can't just go up like that. So after you start to get used to all these visuals that I help you with in order to make singing a little easier for you, depending on what we're working on. I have different visuals for fast runs. I have different visuals for low notes. I have different visuals for chest and head voice, all these different things. But once you start to find the ones that work for you, those are the ones you keep. Those are the ones you write down. You know, I really love everybody I teach to have like a notebook of like notes to take when you're working on high notes. Think about the shelf that's the exact right height for you. So you remember that. So you can go back and find that tool, pick out that paintbrush and use it to paint. Because if you're just guessing all the time, like there's really no point in trying to repeat what you're doing. If you're just singing for fun, great, awesome. If you're trying to repeat and have a sustainable growth in your singing, we got to write these things down so that you don't need me every time, right? So that you don't need me to come in and say, okay, imagine the shelf. You have that now in your mind because you've practiced it over and over and over again, and you're becoming your own vocal coach, which is always my goal. Like, this is why I have a 6-month program, and it's why I do 3-month packages with my private students, because number one, it needs a commitment from the beginning. But once you get to the end of that commitment, if you have done the work and you have taken all these tools and wrote them down and remember to use them and have me in your head after that 3 or 6 months, you're probably golden. Like, you can go work on other harder and harder songs and use these same questions that I ask, use these same tools to be your own vocal coach and to get better and better as you go. And that's what I've done. Like, I took classical lessons for 3 years or so. I take lessons every once in a while when I'm working on a hard song or when I have like injury or something. But for the most part, I have been working as my own vocal coach for the last couple years, and I plan on going back and having a vocal coach as I'm growing. But in the intermediate times, like, I feel like I know all the right questions to ask myself. Doesn't mean I always have the discipline to do it, which is also a good reason to have a vocal coach, to push you and have a cheerleader and to have give you the momentum and the motivation to practice in different ways than you're used to. But in those times in between vocal sessions, you don't need me because you have all the right questions to ask. You have all the right paintbrushes. You can always come back in and grab them. So I always advocate for people to write all this stuff down, to write down their tendencies, which is why I have this whole program. Like, the first month is just learning your tendencies, learning your gremlin patterns, learning, what comes up in times of stress for you and how that applies to your voice and what you are working to avoid and get out of that trap of yourself, of your own gremlin. So that as you're working through these harder and harder songs, as you're growing, you can always go back and check, like, why is this so hard for me? Oh yeah, my gremlin's really strong today. I wrote down that this is what he sometimes says, and I know that now. So I can come back, do my gremlin ritual, get rid of him, and then come back and sing from a gremlin-free place, or whatever it is for you that is stopping you from doing more and singing easier and trusting your voice more. So yeah, I think that's a really important thing that I don't talk about very much. Most of the time I'm talking about why you do need a vocal coach, but today I'm talking about why you shouldn't need a vocal coach forever. And that's, I think, a thing that a lot of us perfectionists have a hard time letting go of, because we always want that validation of, am I doing good enough? Is this right? Like, we just don't want to be wrong so badly that we put all of the weight on our coach or our teacher. And there comes a time in every artist's life where we gotta let that go. Every perfectionist, it's so hard. It's so hard to just let go of what other people think, especially a teacher, especially a coach, that you put so much stock in what they think, and for a good reason, because they know what they're talking about. But they don't know everything. They don't know you and your body. They don't know you and your life. They don't know your career. Like, at some point you have to decide, what that looks like for you. At some point, you have to really be the one that makes the decisions, whether this is right or wrong. At some point as a singer, you'll start to recognize, oh, that didn't feel good in here. I know that was wrong. I need to take a step back and try it a different way. And hopefully that's what I instill in my students. Hopefully that's what every vocal coach instills in their students, to start to notice when something hurts, when something is painful, when something is not what you intended. And hopefully, I know this is not true, but I try and be the kind of vocal coach that creates that safe space for you to mess up, to be wrong, so that when you do it on your own, you're not going back to the gremlin voice. You're not going back to, oh man, I suck. I just wish I could be better. Because we don't need more of that. Your vocal coach should be the one telling you, you are good enough as you are, but let's just try it a different way. Let's be the scientists together. Let's experiment together. Let's learn your voice together, because that's really the most efficient way to get things moving in your voice and your growth as an artist. Man, our inner critic is just always there all the time. And so if you can start to learn this muscle memory of how to be your own vocal coach, how to be your own safe space, how to be your own trauma-informed vocal coach, that is huge. That is, I think, the most important thing as a singer, above range, above literally everything else. Like, it doesn't matter how technically well you can sing, if you are not giving yourself the space to play and the space to learn and the space to grow in such a way that you can do that sustainably for many years, then you might need a vocal coach to help you train your brain in that direction. If you've had a vocal coach in the past that was one of those people that held a safe space for you, great. Remember what they said. Keep their voice in your head all the time. If you've had vocal teachers or music or art teachers in the past that were focused on right and wrong, that may take some healing from. We've all had teachers in the past that were probably too strict. Art teachers being that way is a special kind of trauma. It really is. Like, if you've had a singing teacher in the past that said, nope, that's the wrong way to do it this way, I don't ever want to hear you doing it that way again, that's a scary thing to hear. If they were doing it for your own safety, cool, great. But if they're doing it just because they are so focused on this one genre, this one way that they were taught, and they're not willing to see any other way, that's not great. That's something that you may have to work to get that voice out of your head a little bit occasionally, because that can be very boxing, just that way of thinking that there's a right and a wrong way to do art. Like I said, the only right and wrong is, are you treating your body well? Are you going to hurt yourself or not? But as an artist, as a singer, like, there's something for everybody. There's a genre for everybody. There's a space for everybody. However you want to sing something is the way you want to sing something. I just want to make sure, as your vocal coach, that you are giving yourself that safe space. And that often means I'm giving you that safe space and training you how to give yourself that safe space for 3 months, for 6 months at a time. And I'm giving you tools, different paintbrushes, allowing you to see the extremes of what your voice can do from that safe space so that you start to believe it yourself. I'm giving you more evidence over and over again that you can do this, that you can reach those high notes, that you can sing that run, because we tried a different way than your brain was used to trying it. And then you keep those in your paintbrush box, in your toolbox. You keep all these different paintbrushes in your toolbox. And then as soon as you don't have a vocal coach anymore, you still have those paintbrushes. That doesn't go away. Just because you don't have somebody to run stuff off of and to tell you that it's good enough doesn't mean those tools you learned and that you have just disappear. You still have those, and you get to work with those as an artist. It's the difference between taking a college art class or a high school art class and then going out and painting just on your own, being an artist out in the world. as soon as you graduate. It's the same thing. It's the same as, taking a English class, learning how to write essays, and then going and writing a book, right? Nobody's going to read every single page and say, this is good enough, keep going. You have to be the one to decide, this is good enough, I'm going to keep going. This feels okay in my body. I'm not hurting myself. I know I can hit those high notes because I have these tools. I'm going to pull out the tools that I need that I got from my vocal coach, and I'm going to remember what they said. I'm going to have their voice in my head more than that gremlin voice is in my head, because God knows they're always going to come back. And I'm going to work from this perspective, and I'm going to work on growing my voice on my own. So there's something to be said for both, for having a coach and for not. I think it's really important to try both. Some people are really good at that discernment, and they may not ever need a vocal coach. There's plenty of professional singers out there that never had a vocal coach, and they know their voice inside and out, and they don't hurt themselves, and they're amazing. There are some people that their gremlin is so strong, they're efforting so much, they don't see any other way, and that's what a vocal coach is for. And if you're in that spot, no matter where you are, if you have trained opera for many years or if you're just beginning, like if you're feeling like something is stuck, that may be the time to get a vocal coach and to have them help you out of this one single-minded way of thinking, one single-minded way of singing that you may have trained yourself into a box. And then after 3 months, after 6 months, you're starting to understand what kind of questions they're asking. You're starting to really learn how to ask those questions to yourself. And then you can have another period where you go on your own. So there's no right or wrong way. Highly recommend just asking yourself what you think you need right now. Always highly recommend everybody take some kind of vocal lessons, because it's really hard to hear yourself from inside your head. That's just the nature of the instrument. But like I said, after a while, you should be your own vocal coach. See how that feels. Trust yourself. That's really where the trust starts to come in, is when you start to have no choice but to trust yourself, right? When your vocal coach goes away, that's where the rubber meets the road. You start to have to trust yourself, and you have to just make those decisions like, yes, this is how I want to approach this line. This is how I want to sing this song. This is what feels better. The other way doesn't feel good for my voice. I'm not going to try and fit my voice into this box that doesn't work for me. And honestly, that's mostly what I do. I ask all of these questions to my students and train them over and over again to keep asking themselves these questions. And that's how we get better singers in the world, who trust themselves more, who are focused on ease and freedom and taking care of their instrument and expressing themselves more fully, with less fear, because we learned how to deal with that gremlin voice. We learned how to deal with all the other voices that have come in. We learned how to deal with the inner critic. We learned how to deal with our nervous system, and to realize that it's not our fault if we have these trauma responses, that we have this freeze and this fight response. Like, that's just how we're wired, and it's not a reflection on us as a person. If you're curious about more about this nervous system stuff, I just had an awesome guest speaker session for my current students with Ruby Rose Fox of Muscle Music. Go follow her. She talks about this stuff all the time. It's changed my vocal teaching and my singing forever. It's Muscle Music 2_. Here on Instagram. So I think that's a good place to stop. Let me know if you have any questions. Like, if you are someone who hasn't taken vocal lessons, or maybe it's been a while and you're curious about how they would help you grow to where you want to go, just send me a message. Just be like, hey, this is where I am right now. This is where I want to be. What do you think we could work on? Happy to answer any questions, even if it's not me that you end up working with. I just want to help people get into the right place and feel more comfortable singing out in the world, because that's what I do. So yeah, send me a message. Vocal Magic is coming back in a different way very soon. So if you're curious about that, also send me a message if you want to get on the wait list for that. It's going to be a little more self-directed, a little bit different coordination, not quite so small, intimate cohorts anymore, more pre-recorded videos and stuff. And then we'll have our live sessions together, with you having already watched the main content, and then we'll have a really deep discussion on it a couple times a month. So things are changing. So if you haven't been able to get into Vocal Magic in the past, whether time commitment, financial commitment, I'm really hoping this will be the solution for you. So message me if you're curious. Keep an eye out. That's coming soonish. I can't tell you when because I don't know, but in the next couple months for sure. So I love you. Thank you for being here. If you're watching later on, message me or comment a dolphin in the comments to let me know that you watched it. And yeah, let me know how this sat for you. If you're in a weird limbo of in between vocal coaches and you're not sure what you need to work on, if you're not sure even what your goals are, that's what I'm here for. I want to help you with the next steps, whatever that means for you. If you're someone who has never taken a vocal lesson and has no idea what it can do, but you're curious and you're like, I don't really want to be a singer, but I want to sing better, that's awesome. This is what vocal sessions are for everybody. You know, you don't have to want to be a career singer to take vocal lessons to better your voice and to feel more confident and comfortable in your voice. If you are a professional singer and you're like, something is stuck, something's not working, I feel like something is just blocking me, also message me. I'm here for you too. Let's figure it out together. Yeah, I love to do this stuff. I love talking about the voice. As you can tell, I come on here every week and I do it because it's fun for me. Yeah. That's the thing that's happening right now is we're doing a 30-day challenge. So I like to do this with all my students. My grad students are doing this one with me, a quick little 30-day challenge where we post ourselves singing at least a minute of a song. It can be a full song if you want, every single day for 30 days. The only rule is do not put a disclaimer or self-judgment onto the post. You're not allowed to do the thing where you say, yeah, I don't know. I only practiced this one time, so, you know, be nice. That's against the rules of this competition. So just post you singing every day, a little bit, ideally the first take, so we're not overdoing our inner critic. Just get out of that mindset and just post it. If that seems terrifying for you, all good. You know, put it on your close friends. Just send it to me. Fine, that's fine with me. I just want to help you get out of your comfort zone and start showing your voice to the world, because I can almost guarantee you it's better than you think it is. So that's it. That's all I have to say. Oh yeah, we're doing hashtag Vocal Magic 30-day challenge. And you can find that in my last couple posts. Okay, I love you. Have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you soon.